Pieces here. This is from China, the Tang Dynasty of China, Tang, T-A-N-G. And this is around 600 to 900 AD, the Tang Dynasty, very approximate dates. These wonderful funerary figurines made of ceramic, still showing a lot of color on them. So these are glazed figures. The glaze is applied to the surface of the ceramic before its final firing. And so through the firing process, the glaze integrates with the ceramic. It fires on hard, so it's not going to wear away like paint, much as the red and black that we see on ancient Greek ceramic. The black is also much like a glaze, whereas the red, general rule of thumb, that we see on ancient Greek ceramics is actually just the oxidized color of the clay itself. But then you look at these wonderfully colorful glazed figures. The technique is called sancai, S-A-N-C-A-I, sancai glazing, which literally means three-color. So the three-color glazing technique with this real, almost modern, like Jackson Pollock way of applying the glaze, how it trickles and drizzles down, splattered on, using a wax resist to help control where the glaze is applied. They put some wax on to make sure the glaze doesn't cover those regions. But then during firing, that wax melts, and so it trickles and pulls the glaze down, creating this wonderful pattern effect. So, but then you look at certain regions, the heads of these figures, the hands, and those regions are uncolored. What do you suppose that's all about?
Maybe it was painted with paint and not
so there you go. That you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, that those regions were actually painted, and then that paint has faded away. The glaze, like I said, the glaze isn't going to go anywhere, but the pigment that is painted onto the surface after it gets fired, that's much more vulnerable to disintegration. And so just to remind us that the way something appears to us in a museum, whether it's classical sculpture or a Chinese Tang figurine, is not necessarily the way it appeared when it was new. Right? Why do you suppose they would paint those regions and not glaze those parts?
Different colors, brighter colors.
Yeah, different color. Remember that term I said, sancai, three color. They had a pretty limited palette with their glaze. Different chemistry, different composition. So pretty limited. So this is why we call it three color: green, cream, and brown. I'm sure the art historians would come up with some fancier words than green, cream, and brown. But those are generally the colors you see in sancai glazing. Whereas maybe to produce more realistic flesh tones, or perhaps you want brilliant reds or glorious blues, or even gilding or silver. A lot of that just has disappeared and faded. If you look really closely on some of the crowns, you'll see trace bits of red and blue. You have to more come a bit around on this side here. But so it's there. It's just, it is so remarkably faded.